Hello, Internet. It is I, the Malik Aaron, and after many delays, I'm finally going to get into the summer 2019 box office recap. We're going over all the major movies that came out during the summer movie season of 2019. Movies that came out from the beginning of May to late August. And because of all those movies, I'm going to be splitting this video up into 3 different parts. The first part, which you're watching right now, will consist of all the movies that were considered successful, and I'm going to call that video The Good. Second video will be all the movies that, while I don't consider them real hits, I don't consider them real failures either. So I'm going to call that The Meh. And then the third video, we're going to be going over all the movies that were bombs, disappointments, disasters, just failures of summer 2019. And that's probably going to be the longest video out of these 3. And that video will be called The Oofs. But overall, summer 2019, if you look at the screen, compared to last year, it really wasn't too bad. It was only off by a couple percentage points. I mean, it was way better than the dumpster fire that was 2017. Way better than that. But still nowhere near the best. And the best is still 2013. And 2013 summer was ruthless. There were so many hits that came out during that year, particularly during the summer season. And even the fall and holiday season, 2013 was very strong. And although other years have since surpassed 2013, like 2015, 2016, 2018, their summers, none of their summers really compared to 2013. And I don't think any summer, especially next year's summer looks hella weak, even compared to this summer. So yeah, 2013 is going to remain king for probably a long time. But let's just get right to it. And before you all say anything, yes, we're going to talk about Endgame first, even though technically it's not a summer movie, but people are going to be complaining about me not talking about it, so I'm just going to talk about it. So Avengers Endgame, what more needs to be said? It's the biggest movie of all time. It beat Avatar's record, which that movie held that record for a solid 10 years. It destroyed the opening weekend record, which was held by its predecessor, Infinity War. Made $858 million just domestic. Nearly $3 billion worldwide. And personally, when I originally made my prediction for Endgame, I thought it wasn't going to do this good. I thought it would perform similar to a Dark Knight Rises, where it would only increase or decrease by a little bit. But I didn't expect Endgame to just straight up decimate its predecessor like this. But here we are. Now, with the MCU, I mean, the MCU is an absolute goldmine in terms of box office. No one's denying that. I mean, all 3 of their movies that came out this year broke $1 billion. But considering how the MCU is currently doesn't have SpiderMan, and the fact that Endgame may end up will likely be the peak of the MCU, and it's just all going to go downhill from there. So, I mean, box office, nothing like that has happened yet, but I have a feeling in like a year or 2, you're going to see a downturn in Marvel movies, because I'm pretty sure many people who saw Endgame thought this would be a finale, particularly for some of the characters like Iron Man and Captain America. And because they're gone, well, maybe. Actually, I've heard rumors that Tony Stark will be in the Black Widow movie, but I feel like doing that really cheapens his sacrifice. And I know Black Widow's a prequel, but still, I feel like it just really cheapens all the, what he did, and it's just, kind of leaves a bad taste in my mouth. But still, the MCU, box office goldmine, nothing more to say. So, now let's get to all the movies that actually opened in the summer of 2019. Starting first with The Lion King. I know many people hate this movie. Many people think it completely disrespects the original, and I don't blame you for saying that because I didn't see the movie, but I saw the Mufasa death scene, and that death scene was atrocious. It made me laugh, and which is really bad because that scene's supposed to be emotional. So, yikes. But it still was a massive, 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 massive hit. Made over $500 million domestic, $190 million opening weekend. It beat Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2 for the biggest opening ever for the month of July. It made over $1.6 billion, $1 billion overseas alone. And technically, and I know there was this whole argument like, oh, is it live action? Is it animated? It's animated. It just has realistic looking animals. All of it is computer. Okay? So let's not go into that dumb discussion. It is now technically the highest grossing animated film ever, beating Frozen. So no matter what you think about the Lion King remake, you cannot deny that it was a massive, massive, massive hit. So there's that. Next up, another Disney movie. You're going to be hearing that a lot. Well, actually, not really, but you get the point. Toy Story 4. I'm surprised this movie actually came close to its predecessor because when this movie was first announced, many people were just like, do we really need a fourth movie? I mean, the third movie ended pretty good. Like, why do we need another one? That feels like so unnecessary. And I was like that too. But nostalgia is powerful. And that nostalgia helped Toy Story 4 actually, like in the States, beat out its predecessor. And despite opening a little weak with $120 million, which many people thought was a bit underwhelming, it managed to have good legs and ended up beating Toy Story 3 in the long run. It didn't beat it worldwide, but it was only off by literally a few $1 million, so who's really going to complain about that? So yeah, judging by this box office, it's clear that I don't think the Toy Story brand is going to die off. They might make another one. Probably not now, but maybe in the future. So yeah, Toy Story 4, big hit. Next up, SpiderMan Far From Home. Considering all of the drama between Disney and Sony and, the MCU losing the Spider-Man license, this is kind of bittersweet. But it's still worth talking about. So Spider-Man Far From Home opened early July, 4th of July weekend. It opened to, actually, let's look at its box office. Opened to about $185 million over 6 days, which is very, very, very strong. It's been a long time since a movie opened like on a weekday that did very good, that did amazing numbers. Because like back in the day, movies used to do that all the time. They release on a Wednesday or a Thursday or a Tuesday, and they still boast humongous numbers. But for some reason, it just stopped working. I don't know why. Maybe because the movies just sucked. Who knows? But still, Spider-Man Far From Home made $389 million total domestic. And this is the important part. It is the first Spider-Man movie ever, and I mean ever, to make $1 billion. Not even the Raimi movies could do that. So you have to give Marvel, the MCU, credit for at least doing that. They did something Sony wasn't able to do by themselves. And since, probably in a few months, something's going to happen between, Disney and Sony. They might come to some agreement. They might, realize, maybe we should stop being so petty towards each other and just realize that, this new Spider-Man is benefiting both of us. And so they can be friends again, and then Spider-Man can be back in the MCU. Will that happen? Who knows? But, hey, one can hope. So that was Spider-Man Far From Home's box office. Next up, probably the final, actually it is the final Disney movie we're going to be talking about, Aladdin 2019. I know this movie got a lot of online hate before it came out, and rightfully so. particularly with Will Smith's Genie, who looked atrocious. But even despite all that online backlash, it still did very, very well. It managed to break Disney's Memorial Day curse, a curse they had for years, with movies like Prince of Persia, Tomorrowland, Alice Through the Looking Glass, Pirates 5, and Solo all either underperforming or outright tanking. But this movie broke that. Opened to 91 million over the 3-day. Over the 4-day, it broke 116 million. It had very good legs. It held on to the... it had a very good... Can't think. It kind of... Whatever. It had very good legs. As a result, it made $355 million domestic. Made over $1 billion worldwide. What more can I say than it was a massive hit? And despite the fact that many people really don't like these Disney remakes, as long as these keep making money, they're going to keep on churning them out. So if you want these to stop watching them. Stop paying to see them. It's that simple. But yeah, that was Aladdin. Finally, a non-Disney film we're going to be talking about. John Wick Chapter 3. Now, for many sequels, not just of the summer, but the whole year, a lot of sequels have been tanking really bad. Oh, sorry. With the exception of, Endgame, Toy Story 4, Far From Home, and some others that I'm going to be mentioning. But John Wick 3 is one of those sequels that didn't just outgross its predecessor, it destroyed its predecessors. Because if we look here, John Wick started as a modest film, only made $43 million, got a big audience on home video, made a sequel, it doubled that, got even more of an audience. Then the third one, it nearly doubled that, which is incredible growth for a franchise. Like growth that I haven't seen in such a long time for any series. And the fact that John Wick 3 managed, at least in the States, to manage to outgross already, established properties like Fast and the Furious, X-Men, Men in Black, that is incredible. And it's a really good sign for John Wick 4. Because although when you reach Chapter 4, when you reach Part 4, that's when things can get a little bad. But I do have hope that John Wick 4 will be good. And I think it'll grow the audience even more. So yeah, that was John Wick 3. Huge hit. What else? Detective Pikachu. This didn't quite reach my high expectations. Many people had high expectations for this. Got a lot of anticipation. Everyone's saying it looked so good. But at the end of the day, it still did all right for a video game movie. Because, video game movies have had a really bad stigma ever since that Super Mario Brothers movie. And rightfully so. But this one kind of changed that. And made people realize, hey, these movies don't have to be terrible. They can, look decent. They can stick to the source material. They don't have to make all these stupid changes. And so with this movie, made about 144 million domestic, 430 million total, overall. And believe it or not, this is actually Warner Brothers' biggest movie of 2019. Which is saying a lot, because that's actually quite sad. Not even It Chapter 2 could make this much money. That is somewhat depressing. But still, for video game movies, it's actually number one in terms of that list. Although Lara Croft would obviously beat it in terms of inflation, because that came out in 2001. But yeah, still, big hit. Well, not a big hit, but still a decent-sized hit. What's next? Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Just like Pikachu, my expectations for this were a little bit high. But at the end of the day, it still did pretty good. Made 138 million domestic, 344 million total. Not the biggest Tarantino movie, that still belongs to Django Unchained, but it at least beat Inglourious Bastards. So it has that going for it. So yeah, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, not a huge hit, but a decent sized hit. What's next? Good Boys. While this is nowhere near a blockbuster level movie, considering that R-rated comedy is pretty much dead in the modern era, Good Boys did surprisingly well. Why? Because it had a good premise, a decent premise that was appealing, and despite the fact that some people were concerned, like, wait a minute, so you're making an R-rated movie about kids? Well, kids will want to see it, but they can't because it's rated R. So who's the audience? Turns out it did get an audience. Opened at 21 million, made 77 million so far, nearly 100 million worldwide. So yeah, Good Boys, not a humongous hit, but for R-rated comedy standards these past few years, this is without a doubt the best result. Okay, what else? I'm looking through this. Yesterday, a movie that looked very modest. And although in my prediction I did say there was a high chance it would be a sleeper hit, and I was right. It was a sleeper hit. Made 73 million total, about 142 million worldwide on budget of 26 million. Pretty good. And again, keep in mind, this movie, a movie where, like, the main guy, he lives in an alternative universe where the Beatles didn't exist. This small movie made more money domestically than Dark Phoenix. Let that sit in. So yeah, yesterday, pretty big hit. Well, not big hit, but you know what I mean. What else? Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. To be honest, in my prediction, I kind of thought this movie looked really cheesy. It just didn't look scary at all. But surprise, surprise, it actually made quite a bit of money. Opened to 20 million, made 65 million total. Had good legs for a horror film. Made 92 million overall on a budget of 25 million, so obviously it's made some profit. And again, I mean, considering 2019 in terms of horror films, in the summer, it was really weak. It was very lackluster. So the fact that this actually did all right is, good. So there's that. What else? Oh, Angel Has Fallen. Again, considering how sequels this year have done mostly terrible, I was very surprised that Angel Has Fallen was able to beat its predecessor, London Has Fallen. I did not expect that at all, but that's what happened. And I'm not sure why. Maybe it just looked appealing to a decent number of people. Maybe people were just so bored that they needed something to watch. Who knows? But at the end of the day, it still did very well. It has a budget of 40 million. It's made like 118 million. Compared to the others worldwide, it hasn't reached those yet, but I have a slight feeling that it probably will get closer to them. But yeah, compared to other sequels, this movie is a friggin' smash hit. Alright, what else? Ma did alright for the very low budget movie that it is. 60 million on a 5 million budget. Not too much to say here, but Blumhouse has another, Jason Blum has another hit on his hands, so yeah, not much to say there. What else? Not that, no. Saving that for another list. Overcomer. Even though this did not reach not Long Shot. Gosh, why am I thinking of that movie? War Room didn't reach that at all. Again, the low budget movie that it is, only 5 million. I mean, 31 million overall. That's not bad. Considering, Christian movies can be very, very, very niche. So again, not much to say, but it did okay. And I think that is it. more or less. Is it? I'm looking through these. I guess I could include Crawl. I mean, it did okay-ish. I mean, 86 million on a 13 million budget is not bad at all. But I really thought it would do just a little bit better. But considering the budget and the box office, I'm going to have to put it leans more towards a good rather than a meh. So, yeah. I'm going to classify this as a win. Oh, I actually remember there are a couple more that they're not quite mehs, but but I would consider them mostly, good performers. One of them is Ready or Not. With a small budget, it made 43 million, so can't call it a loss at all. So there's that. And Midsommar, despite the fact that it made nowhere near as much money as Hereditary, again, it was very cheap to make. So it didn't lose any money. So yeah, Midsommar also a small little hit. And that's pretty much it for this video. That was all the movies that I consider to be successful, at least the most successful of all the movies that came out this past summer. Let me know what you thought of each of these movies. How many of these movies have you seen? I'm pretty sure all of you are going to say Endgame because, well, duh. But still, let me know. Alright, so next video, as I previously mentioned, we're going to talk about all the movies that I don't consider real hits, but not real flops. That'll be all the meh movies. And that video is likely going to be very controversial. I just know it will. So, just be prepared for that. So yeah, make sure to subscribe, like this video, leave a comment. If you want to go check out past predictions I made on these movies, I have 2 playlists, the blockbusters and the not blockbusters, so go check those out if you want to see how good or how badly I failed at my predictions. So yeah, that is all, and I am out.